From Tally to Cali.
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by
Vitamin Energy.
The vitamins.
The energy.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Come on, shake your body, baby, do that conga. No, you can't control yourself any longer.
Wake up! It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. Coming up on today's show, adversity hits Florida State in their first ACC game. What was most surprising about the loss to Virginia? What are we afraid that showed up against Virginia might rear its head against Miami? And was that the best offense that Florida State... Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com. It's Miami week, Corey. Give me some promo code energy.
warchantbogo.
Oh, Corey.
Hey, I'm still a little bummed about what happened on Friday night, everyone. You can't blame me. I'll be more boisterous and vociferous by the end of the week.
Let's get some vitamin energy in our guy. Maybe the mood plus. The vitamins and the nutrients will get him in a better mood, and the energy comes from 260 milligrams of all-natural caffeine. No sugar crash, no GMOs. Vegan. Stuff's the real deal, everybody. Warchant BOGO. Buy one, get one free over at vitaminenergy.com. Come on out this weekend to all the meet and greet events, especially the one over at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill on Friday. I'll probably have a couple boxes of Vitamin Energy. So if you need to try it before you buy it, I get it. But also, it's Warchant BOGO. I mean, you buy one, get one free. It's like pretty much, risk-free almost. But we'll bring some free ones. You can try them out, and you can say hi to us. Warchant.com, the ultimate Seminole sports source. We got you covered. Two dudes are up in Charlottesville, boots on the ground, asking questions, probing, giving us analysis afterwards in the Warchant wrap, which is presented by Vitamin Energy. Warchant.com, the ultimate Seminole sports source. Give us a try. It's Miami week. Come on in. Lots of going on. You can also check out what they're talking about over on Kane Sport for a good laugh or two. Corey Clark, always good for a good laugh or two, even though he's in a little bit of down spirits right now. We're like 72 hours. 24-hour rule, I thought, Coach Clark. You gotta flush it, move on.
It's not the loss itself. It's just that because teams are going to lose. Hey, half the teams in the country lost this past weekend.
True.
Some fan bases are more upset even than Florida State's with their losses. But it's like I told everyone for a month, I just wanted both teams to get to this week undefeated. And Florida State didn't hold up their end of the bargain. I don't care if game day shows up or doesn't show up. I do care. We'll get to that in a minute after we talk about the game. But just all the hype that would have been around this game would have been really neat for both fan bases, really, but particularly the Florida State fan base since it's a home game. And they didn't. It's still going to be hyped. It's still going to be a huge game. And honestly, like I said last week, if you win this game, and I wrote this after the game on Friday night, if you beat Miami, which is not unheard of, folks, this is not the 1987 Miami team. If you beat this Miami, or 2001, if you beat Miami, it almost erases everything that happened Friday night in Charlottesville.
Oh yeah.
You're 4-1 with wins over Miami and Alabama. You're feeling good about the season. The problem is if you lose it, now it feels like the wheels have come off. I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's true, but it will feel that way because after a hot start, number 8, 7 in the country, whatever it was, you've lost 2 in a row. The problem is these are 2 of your toughest games, and they happen to be back-to-back. There's no excuse for losing to Virginia, but I'm not just – don't accept it. I know it was a frustrating loss and a bummer of a loss, but this is a tough stretch, a lot tougher stretch than maybe we appreciated when the season started. I saw the Virginia game up close. I saw that team up close. So did everyone else. You watch it on TV, everyone, but I actually was there. Not that matters, but y'all saw that offense is no joke. They made plays. That quarterback can make plays. I don't know how good a team it is, but it is a good offense.
All right, well, let's get to it then. Florida State drops their first game of the season. As we all expected, they were not going to run the table, everybody. But they do drop their first road game of the season, their first ACC game of the season, 46-38 in double overtime. And Corey, I joke kind of when I said that, as we all expected, they weren't going to run the table, but we all picked Florida State to win, but we hedged a bit and we talked about, listen, Virginia's got a veteran quarterback. They've got some playmakers, road game, new environment. There's some ingredients, Miami game the following week. There's ingredients here in the mix that can maybe, trip you up a little bit. And I don't know how much of that stuff actually did factor into this Corey, but we're not really like shocked they lost this game. We saw that there could have been some way that this would have happened, but what was the most surprising part of this loss in your eyes?
Yeah, man, the defense. I mean, that's too broad, probably. The lack of physicality that I saw was disappointing. You look, mistakes, miscues, those are and also the way they kind of imploded in the first quarter. To the whole team, like people can argue or nitpick about the Deuce Robinson penalty, but why are you extending your arms, 6'6" guy? You don't have to. I mean, that was an easy call to make. Whether he really needed to do it, whether he really pushed him hard, it doesn't matter. It looked like you did because you stuck both arms out. The first drive is killed because of that. Even after your defense got a 3-and-out to start the game, your defense then got another stop, and then another penalty that I guess was a penalty on Pettibone, and then to wipe away like a 9-yard play. And the very next play, I think, is when Sawchuk fumbles, maybe. So you just start out with 3 really bad penalties and then a fumble. And it's like, oh, you want to know how an upset happens? Here you go. It's like they had to write the blueprint for it. Like, guys, we're going to give y'all as much confidence as y'all need. We're going to get this crowd that doesn't want to be in this game into this game immediately by giving you guys for a 14-0 lead. That was really disappointing. That just they just didn't look like they were ready to play, man. And Norvell said that he thought they were. It wasn't a lack of being unprepared, which of course he would say that anyway. But it just you start out sloppy like that when you can't afford to start out sloppy. That was just all of it was disappointing when it comes to that. And then the defense really just not being able to get off the field. Too many easy conversions. And Tony White talked about it on Sunday night, right? Like he hated the way they played on second down. And this was true. This happened. He talked about how there were so many. They had them in 2nd and long or 2nd and 10 or 2nd and 8, but then they would always give up, a 6-yard play when it should have been a 2-yard play on second down. So instead of 3rd and 6 or 3rd and 8, it's 3rd and 3. Or instead of 4th and 4, it's 4th and 1. Like that, I think that happened on their last touchdown drive in regulation to go up 35-28, was you gave them, I think it was a pass to a tight end on 3rd and 12 maybe, that should have made it 4th and 6, but instead he kept fighting, clawing, and scratching and made it 4th and 2. There was just stuff like that it just looked too much like last year's defense. Like no physicality, no ferocity. And that was the most disappointing part. I knew Virginia was going to score and they were going to make plays. I didn't know they were going to kind of just out-physical you and look like the tougher team. I'm not saying they are the tougher team, but their offense looked tougher than your defense, and that was surprising.
I guess kind of a broad follow-up to that, though, Corey, is that Virginia fans would probably be saying the same thing had Florida State made an extra play or two and won the game. Like again, and I'm not blaming this on the offense, but I just feel like a lot of the big plays that we had to Deuce, right? Those were, plays where they were trying to like create a strip on Deuce, but then he ended up busting off 15, 20 more yards. Like they weren't being physical enough in those moments. They weren't tackling. They weren't being confident. They weren't playing on their keys. It just feels like, and I don't really know in terms of like, do we want to assign blame? And I'm not really trying to assign blame, but it felt like one of those games where, like, listen, Virginia doesn't have a lot to feel good about on their defense either right now. They made, like, that one extra play that Tony White said was all around them.
Did they really make the one extra play, or did Deuce just bobble a ball? Yeah, well, that's a touchdown.
Yeah.
Like, Virginia didn't drop any touchdowns. That technically is a drop, right? I mean, I know what you're saying. I know that's more of just coach speak about making one more play than the other team. But legitimately, man, like, that was a perfect throw. It was a great route. It's right there. That's 6 points. And your best player, other than maybe your quarterback on offense, just drops the ball. Yeah. Doesn't drop it. Sorry, he caught it. But to me, to my eye, what did you think about it? Do you think it was a catch?
In real time, yes.
Yeah, I did too.
And then,
but when they slow it down by frame, it's like, well, yeah, it still seems to be moving just a little bit. And I didn't get to hear the conversation in the booth with the replay crew. Is that what they were saying? That it was still the ball was still moving?
Yeah, I mean it's pretty cool the level of transparency they give you there, because they're like, listen, we're waiting for Channel C, and they're pulling and they're waiting for They're getting video from the stadium. They even said, like, we're waiting on more video from ESPN's feed. Like, they're pulling in all the possible potential angles, and they're talking about it. They're like, listen, I'm they're like going frame by frame. Like, I still see the ball moving. We have a foot down, but the ball's still moving. And then so it's like, and then one person's like, I think that this is an incomplete pass, and then someone else is like, I agree. And it's, I don't know. I mean, I know obviously it did not work out the way that Florida State intended. Florida State fans wanted to the resolution to be there, but it's a nitpicky play. But listen, if the roles were reversed, we would be cheering it too. Listen, I think about like the Notre Dame game, the last time that game day was actually in Tallahassee, right? Like that offensive pass interference. We were okay with it, right? I'm sure if we would have got hit with it, we would have been like, this is a complete, BS call.
Yeah, but I honestly, I thought that's a play Deuce needs to make. It doesn't even need to come down to a split-second freeze frame. Like, he had a great game, and he's it was
a good
very,
throw,
very good.
Wide open. Yeah, man, like he had 3-4 strides.
But Deuce is
to get
Deuce is the truth, man.
Oh,
Deuce is an NFL receiver. He's very good.
He's much better than I thought he was going to be. And I had him,
Yeah,
I think
he's
maybe,
something, right?
I think I had him third maybe, and I had him like third on my top 40. Like I didn't have him at 13 or that. I had him like my top 5. But this level of production, I got to look some of this stuff up. This might be the biggest single season. I mean, he's trending in that way for a Gus Malzahn wide receiver. But yeah, he's been fantastic.
Yeah. So, but yeah, even if he makes that catch, there's no guarantee that you're going to get the 2-point conversion. There's no guarantee that you're going to win the game even after that. But that's a catch he needs to make, and he'll make a lot more than he doesn't. But that was a critical mistake by him, and it was just a night full of them. Like Sawchuk, I think, is a pretty dependable guy. That's just a bad fumble. And you wonder, and this is not excuse making.
Earl's a good tackler, and that was
that kid's a good running back.
I replayed that. I kept hitting the left arrow on my keyboard, going back 5 seconds on YouTube and watching it over and over. The sound of that gave me a concussion. It felt like he came in.
Earl is a dude too now. Like, I know he didn't make that play. I know it counts as a missed tackle. He had 13 tackles in that game, and I know he missed another one right before that after the Jerry almost interception where Earl comes in and is trying to strip him too. But Earl is a player. Like, he is not one that I ever question his desire or physicality. That was a hit, man. And it was kind of bad luck that the kid kind of stumbled like into the pile that kind of kept him upright, and then all of a sudden he just squirts out of it. Yeah. But the game changed on the Jerry almost interception. Like, if he makes that play, and he's so close. If you think about that play, if he intercepts that, or by all means take it to the house, it's now 28 straight points, and your quarterback has just thrown 3 straight interceptions. It would have almost been to the point where, like, are they going to bench their quarterback? Like, he's rattled. He's just thrown 3 interceptions on 3 straight possessions. This is Brock Glenn stuff. And instead, they go down and score and tie the game, and then they feel good going into halftime. That's how quickly games can change, and that's how close the margin is in almost all these games, where if just a couple of plays break one way or the other, and obviously in a double overtime game, there's 30 plays that go either way. But I think the point you were trying to make earlier, which I feel like I cut you off, I'm sorry, buddy,
that's all right,
was that Virginia, if they would have lost, could have said the same thing too. Like, if our quarterback just doesn't make a dumb throw on first down when we're up 14-7 and just gave them points, or if our defense could cover 0, or if all these things could have happened. Like, they didn't get all the breaks either.
Get off the field on 4th down. I mean, that touchdown that tied the game up, like, get off the field.
Yeah, that's just exactly. I would say this though, and also, so this is where I want to kind of differentiate between what I feel like you gave Virginia and what I feel like that's players making plays. Like that throw Chandler Morris runs in for a touchdown on their final drive in regulation, but it's called back for holding. Hey, what do you know? A hold. The very next play, look, man, I know you can say Herring got beat. That is a dime. Yeah. That is a perfectly thrown football. I don't know what else. I mean, other than tackling the kid or being a half a step closer, that's a tough ask anyway for Elijah Herring. But that's just a great throw, man, and that happens. The run that the running back had for the 26-yard touchdown. That's a great play, man.
Great effort, man.
Yeah, man. Good players make good plays. That happens. It's the layup stuff you gave them. Just nobody, like, it's the first touchdown where they just wide open in the middle of the end zone. What zone is that? Like, that's anybody in the country could have made that pass. Like you got to just make it a little harder for them, and then also make them feel you. And I just didn't think Florida State's defense. So look, man, the offense had its problems too during stretches, but when you score 35 points in regulation, when you're at Florida State, you need to win the game, and they didn't. So most of this, I feel like most of the blame goes to the defense, and they just made it too easy, and they just did not, impart their will on the Virginia offense like you hoped they would. But what about this, Aslan? Is there a chance Virginia's the best offense they'll play? I certainly think it's better than Alabama's. Or it was
in that moment, yes, in this moment, they for sure. I mean, Alabama's offense maybe in another week or two would eclipse what Virginia was on Friday night. But unless Clemson figures things out, I think this probably would be, and especially because it's on the road. Like, had you played Virginia, I think Pitt is very similar to Virginia, but Pitt's coming here, and I think that really changes the dynamics of it. But yeah, I mean, you would make a strong argument. You'd probably would win that argument for saying that they're the most effective, like sharpest offense that Florida State's probably going to face.
So it was probably. So look, this is what I was going to say earlier too, and it's not an excuse, but they weren't prepared to see Virginia. You can practice all you want, but in the future, schedule makers, maybe not East Texas A&M, bye week Kent State. It's basically like another season opener.
Yeah, what did you think about, I think when Gus was like, we've had a happiness camp here the last 3 weeks. That felt to me a little bit like, man, we maybe were feeling a little too,
And there was also no reality. Like the Alabama game was real. Obviously, you won that game. That was a real opponent. Clearly, that's a good football team. Way better than Florida State, according to the rankings. Even though it'd be cool if they could have settled it on the field at some point. But you go from that to basically kumbaya for 3 weeks. And not that they're easy on those guys during practice, but when you just roll teams, you're not getting any competitive sweat going. Those games were just mockeries. And they don't prepare you for a Friday night road game. And it just felt like they got punched in the mouth early because they were they had not played a competitive, and I think I brought this up last week. If I didn't, I meant to. They hadn't played a competitive down of football in a month.
Yeah.
Like a month. They knew going to East, and they played hard against those teams, fine, whatever. They knew they were going to win those games by 50 points at the worst going into those games. Their last competitive down was when Jalen Lucas secured the ball game with a third down run near the 2-minute warning against Alabama. That was the last competitive down the Florida State football team has played. That was a month ago. Then they go into not a raucous atmosphere, but a hostile atmosphere. They got rowdy real quick because you let them, and I just didn't think they were ready for it. That's not an excuse, but that was a hard ask to make. Like Virginia had played NC State. They had played, I know Stanford's not any good, but they played an ACC team with Division I athletes. They just seemed a little more prepared for the moment. It was like a slap back to reality for the Florida State football team as a whole. But it was disappointing, obviously. But it was weird, man. Like, I don't know how you felt. Were you just crushed after the game? Or I like the fact that they're a tough out. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like I've seen a lot of Florida State teams in the past where it starts going like that. It spirals. And the next thing you know, it's like, what is this? It's 28-6. Yeah. What? They do not have that in them, I don't think. Right?
I agree.
So I was excited. It was, number one, it was an entertaining as hell. The game was entertaining as hell. It was fun. It was a fun game to watch. Maybe not for you guys. I assume you were nervous a lot, but it was still cool. It was a lot of cool plays, big time plays. But I do love the response they had. Even though they didn't win the game, I loved the response they had. It reminded me in a weird way of the Louisville game, just without the interception at the end, just without the win. The Louisville game of 2022. Not the ACC championship game. The one where Jordan got hurt, Rodemaker came in. I just felt like I had those vibes. Like they had. I honestly thought the Virginia kid was going to miss the kick, and that's how they were going to win. Yeah. But of course, he had to drill it. Like a nerd, like the nerd he is, he had to go make that field goal. But they were, as bad as they played, and as many as I thought easy first downs and points you gave that Virginia team. You were a play away from winning the game. If let's just say if your quarterback makes even a decent throw, not even a decent throw, just not a horrible throw to your wide open running back in the flat.
Right.
That's a walk-in touchdown, and you're not having to kick a field goal in overtime. And then maybe you get that stop in overtime because it was going to be fourth down after that incompletion. Maybe you win the game that way. You were so close, even with all the mistakes you made. It's like there might be something in this team's DNA, man. I know we're not going to hold a standard because it's Virginia. Oh, you hung close with Virginia and took them to double overtime. But I've seen so many Florida State teams and just so many college football teams in general, when they get down like that, like in a little avalanche, they panic. They start just doing really dumb stuff, and the next thing you know, like I said, it's 28-6 or it's 35-10. Nah, man, they made it a game, and they took Virginia's best shot, swung back hard, and then just didn't make the plays in the end. But I kind of do still kind of believe in the DNA of this football team.
I still believe in everybody coming and hanging out and having a great time Friday night over at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. And even before then, if you want, come on out tonight, watch Monday Night Football. Come on out Tuesday, play trivia. Thursday night, bingo night. And then Friday, the meet and greet, 5 p.m. A lot of Noles going to be in town for the big game against number 3 Miami now. They dropped. They didn't play the game, so they dropped. Yep. Penalized for being slackers. Come on out, meet and greet. We'll have some Vitamin Energy out there. Maybe I'll bring some Vitamin Energy swag. It'll be a good time, and the food will be delicious. The drinks will be ice cold. They will arrive to you promptly with friendly faces serving them to you. There'll be TVs on. I don't even know what's really. Maybe I'm sure there's gonna be a Friday night football game on. I'm sure some ACC teams got to play on a Friday night. Hopefully, it's not just us. That'll be on the TV screens. If you want to play some darts, shoot some billiards, put music on the jukebox, it's your favorite sports bar that you didn't even know existed. It's the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, 2475 Appalachia Parkway, cptallybar.com, the website. After years of struggles, I have slimmed down, everyone. And not because of a GLP-1, but because of Ridge and their whole suite of products. Everybody knows Ridge for their wallets, and with good reason. These beautifully crafted wallets allow you to carry all the cards or cash you need without the need to sit on a bulky clump of leather. I went with the Monaco White aluminum wallet. They also have titanium out there for the really fancy folks. Mine is currently on sale, believe it or not, actually. It's powder-coated, fits my license, my insurance card, the Amex, the debit card, and since I'm now engaged and domesticated, my Costco card. I also have the keychain that allows me to stow my keys neatly into something about the size of like a piece of gum and with the thickness of a matchbook. Ah, yes, front pocket life is good. Everything fits in my front pockets now. The wallet is built to last, and Ridge backs it up with a lifetime warranty. So upgrade your wallet today. Get 10% off at Ridge with the code WAKEUP. That's ridge.com/wakeup to save 10% off your order. Again, ridge.com/wakeup to get 10% off your order. We're back. It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. VitaminEnergy.com. warchantbogo, your promo code. I got a lot of follow-up questions for you, Corey, and we still got to get to Miami. But
right.
let's I guess keep it on the defense here. When we talk about things like, Earl, the penalty, the late hit, which that might even been more dubious than the penalty on Deuce on the offensive pass interference.
You're right. That was a bad call.
That
wasn't a dumb. That was, and I know Norvell ripped him in the moment and when he was yelling at him to come off the field. It looked worse in real time than it was. That was ridiculous. Yeah. That was a stupid call. That was not. Well, I've seen personal fouls in my life, and I feel like I'm going to see another one or two from Earl Little over the course of the season. That wasn't one of them. That was ridiculous. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, but so that Jerry Wilson's almost interception, and I don't think anybody's dogging Jerry at all. I think it's an unfortunate thing, but I don't know, if he doesn't play that maybe as aggressive, it's still caught, but it's not. It's only 14 yards. It's not 28 yards, and maybe I just think there are so many things that you're gonna have to live with that and be okay with it. There's stuff that happened on Friday night that, listen, it was a disappointing loss. It was not a devastating loss, because I do think a lot of the things that did not go your way that happened, it's unfortunately a part of the game, and it's just things you'll have to live with, having a roster that's not completely loaded with players that are going to be going to the NFL in the first day or two. So I guess just how much of what you saw against Virginia, can you, that didn't go your way, can you stomach as that's fine, you can still be a good winning football team and do that.
And how many things that you saw against Virginia, I guess, are you scared will show up in a negative way against Miami?
Well, yeah. I mean, look, I think the front seven was not good on the whole. I think that the edge was lost way too many times. They weren't physical on the edge. James Williams has got to start making an impact, or he's got to stop playing as much.
Or don't tweet, buddy.
What do you mean?
Tweet. After Nebraska lost to Michigan, he tweeted at a Nebraska fan, like, y'all could have used me, with a bunch of laughing emojis.
Did he really?
Yeah, and then
boy.
Nebraska fans just avalanched him on Friday night. So,
So what's funny is that I saw Jordan Travis with the Twitter back and forth with the James Williams,
right.
And I was like, "What is this?
Yeah.
Is this is the new kid talking to Jordan Travis?" But it was the Miami James Williams, right?
Yes.
It was the safety from a couple of years ago, which is so I was confused there for a second. I'm like, why are they going after each other? Yeah, James, don't do that. Either one of you.
Yeah.
Either one of you, James Williams, stay off Twitter for a few days.
Leave Nebraska fans alone. Leave our Jordan Travis alone.
That's right, especially because you never beat him. He beat you 3 years in a row. Look, he just has not been an impact. He struggled mightily on that first drive against Alabama when they scored. I thought he had a better game in the second half against Alabama, but then it was a lot of the same, I thought, on Friday night against Virginia. They kind of run right at him. When he tackles people, they're not getting pushed down quickly or backwards. He kind of just wears tackles. He's just got to be more of an impact player and a more physical player because he's going to be run at a lot, and that will certainly happen again this weekend. But, yeah, I didn't think the linebackers played very well as a whole. I thought Darrell Jackson was fine, but he didn't make a huge impact. But, again, we understand that position is hard. He is getting double-teamed a ton. The other guys need to make plays. But I thought your first point was very accurate, man. Like, all this did, I think we all kind of knew, like, this defense could be a problem at times. Not in a good problem.
It has limitations.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the way to phrase it. It does have some limitations, especially up front. Like, McCray, Daniel Lyons, Damonte Diggs, who did not play, Jason Jenkins, who only played 15 snaps, James Williams, perhaps. I don't know if any, KJ Sampson. These are not great college football players. They're not bad college football players, but This is not a great stacked defensive line. And these linebackers, while solid-ish and veteran-ish, are not great linebackers. So you do have some limitations as far as talent level on your front seven, and you face the team that could do something about it. Plus, you face the team with a mobile quarterback. The difference this weekend is Carson Beck probably won't be running for 3 touchdowns and keeping plays alive with his feet. So that is a difference there, but I dare think that Miami has a better offensive line than Virginia. So they are going to run at you, and you're going to have to man up and play like you did against Alabama, who also has a very good offensive line, the way you played against Alabama after that first drive. And even that first drive for Alabama, it was tough sledding for them.
Yeah.
So, hey, credit to the Florida State, man. They don't the Alabama game and the Virginia game, they gave up some long touchdowns, but they do make you earn it. You have to go fight for it. You have to go play 16 plays, 18 plays, 9 minutes off the clock, 8.5 minutes off the clock. They don't just let you roll right down the field. But, so I think what that did on Friday night was it illuminated two things for me. Number one, this defense is not elite. It's not going to be elite. But I didn't think it was going to be anyway. I think their best players.
The thoughts are creeping in your mind, though, a little bit. I'm sure a month ago you didn't, but after 3 games, and I know not so much what they did the last 2 weeks, but what they did against Alabama and the way that Alabama's looked since that game, you're like, okay, maybe the Desir twins get a little bit more stout. Kevin Wynn comes back, and I don't know if I probably shouldn't have gone down that road, but I think we obviously had a much higher bar for them 96 hours ago than we do now.
Yeah,
potential
maybe.
bar.
I thought, though, honestly, and I've been saying it for 3 weeks, so much that people were making fun of me, but I thought Virginia was going to be a great test for this defense. Now they didn't pass it, obviously, but now we kind of have more of a sense of what they are. You know what I mean? Like the Alabama game was such a unique one-off. New starter quarterback, home game, a lot of new pieces for Alabama. this was a fully ready-made offense, and it was the first one they'd faced all season with a 24 or 25-year-old quarterback. Their best receivers are grad student. Their running back is a grad student. Their whole offensive line was seniors and grad. I mean, it is an old offense. It was always going to be a good test, and I thought we'd know more about the defense after the Virginia game. That's when we'd learn the most. I hope I'm wrong there because I think they're better than what they showed. But we saw the limitations, man. They're going to give up some rushing yards. They are not powerful at the point of attack. And if they're not flying to the football, like their best strength, their best trait against Alabama, their strength overall, was just how hard they played. It wasn't that they had elite skill on defense or they had more talent than Alabama's offense. They just played like their hair was on fire. Mm-hmm. And you didn't see that against Virginia. If they can bring that back, then, and they should, I mean, it's Miami in primetime. It better be brought back. I think you'll see something more like the Alabama game than the Virginia game. Obviously, it's at home, too, and that helps. But I just think that's what was missing is if they played just as hard as they played against Alabama, if they'd have brought that to Virginia, then, yeah, they're still going to give up points and yards, but I think they win the game in regulation and maybe cover. But as we all saw, they are in the front seven. They are not loaded with great skill. But we kind of knew that. We just hoped they would make up for it with how hard they played and how well they were coached. I do think the secondary has some guys now. Like, I think Earl Little's an NFL player. I absolutely think Jabril Rawls is an NFL player. That guy was really impressive.
Ashland Barker's really good,
Ashland Barker, too.
Man.
Yeah. So I think the talent, the most depth of talent on the team is on defense. It's in the secondary. And yeah, I just think that you've got to hope you can survive some of these games. Like, it's also like that's the one team that could take advantage, right, on the road. When you look at the rest of how the schedule plays out. Yeah, Miami, man, I know they're underdogs. I think it's a coin flip. I have no idea how that game will go. I do truly think it's about a coin flip. Yeah. But after that, you should beat Pitt at home. Pitt doesn't have a mobile quarterback. Then your road games suddenly look even easier. This was your toughest road conference game. Besides Clemson, we know that's a whole thing. But like at Stanford,
NC State feels kind of parallel. I mean, Friday night,
it does,
their quarterback.
But then they lost to Virginia Tech. So
Did they?
Like yes.
Oh my gosh.
So that's what I'm saying. That looks a lot. This was the best offense you're going to face all season, especially the best offense you're going to face in an away environment. Yeah. So, like, Clemson's a better team, probably. It's definitely more talent, and they might be good. But I'm just saying, this Virginia offense is a good offense, and you're playing in their stadium. You won't have to do that the rest of the year. So, Florida's going to be hard. Clemson's going to be hard, obviously. Miami's going to be hard. You can squint at this schedule and be like, man, they're going to be lucky to get to 8 wins now. But you can also say, all right, they didn't play well. They gave the top 25 team on the road 14 points to start the game, just almost gifted it to them, and then they still took them to double overtime. Like, they are a tough team to beat. That's how I look at it. Now, I might be singing a completely different tune this time next week, but I look at Florida State as like, man, even when they didn't play hard and things were going against them, and they had every right to be like, whatever, we still got Miami next week. They fought like hell to get back into that game, and your quarterback is running all over the place making plays and trying to make plays and competing his tail off to get you back into that game. And so I'm right now I'm choosing not to think of a double overtime loss as a season ender.
No.
I think you could look at what they did and find a lot of positives about it because they did play hard. And they fought back, I should say. And I don't think they didn't play hard. They just didn't play as hard as maybe on defense as you wanted for a lot portion of that game, and then they started to give Virginia a lot of confidence. But either way, I took some positives from that game. I think what Deuce Robinson did, even with the bobble, man, he's never been a guy that went and dominated a road game like that. We're literally at halftime, when you know how Aria and Eric Llewellyn do they'll do like the halftime analysis on the video board for the people in the stadium and show some highlights. When they were coming out for the second half, the halftime, they had the Virginia crew doing the same thing, and it's actually the radio crew. And their color analyst was like, and can somebody cover number 0? Any of y'all cover number 0? Just get in front of them. And they couldn't. And, Deuce should have had a chance to tie the game there in the second overtime. Him doing that, man, that's a big deal. To do that on the road. He had made catches at USC. We get it. But he had never been the guy before. He was the guy in a hard-fought Friday night game on the road and kind of dominated right there till the end. I think that's really something to build on. Cromaw in his first road game, 12 for 62.
63.
That's big-time stuff, man. LaWayne McCoy had his biggest catches as a Seminole. Randy Pittman scored in every way you can score. Like, there was a lot of stuff to build on offensively. And so I think that should fill people with a little comfort knowing no matter how this weekend goes no matter how Saturday night goes, you have an offense that's going to keep you in most games, and it's going to keep you in every game, or should, and it's going to win most of them. They got some dudes and some competitors over there, and I'm not giving up on the defense. I think it was a bad day and a bad matchup, but I don't think it's a bad defense. Again, we'll see what I'm saying after next week.
All right, I got a few more follow-up questions, so let's keep it tight, buddy. Just kidding.
All right.
So, I don't know how much to take from Tommy's comments after the loss about he thought, some guys might have been riding high, feeling too good about themselves. This will kind of ground them, bring them back down to the earth or whatever. And the way that Gus talked about the last 3 weeks have been, really fun and not fun. Whatever he said. Obviously, it's been a happiness camp or something like that he was talking about. This team, obviously the guys that are still here from last year dealt with what last year was, and then you're bringing in guys like Tommy and some other guys that, listen, Deuce, I don't know how much of Deuce leaving SC was not feeling welcome at SC or him just wanting a new start, but, like you're leaving there, you're coming here, like all these guys that are here, like, and then all the bad energy around the program from the outside going to the Alabama game, and then you win that game, and then you come back and play the next two games and look pretty flawless. Like, did they deserve to feel good? I know you want to keep this. I wonder how much of Mike Norvell trying, and this is the thing though, with Mike not having to call plays anymore, we were hoping that he would be much better about personal relationships, keeping everybody focused and things like that. And I don't know if there was a lack of focus, but when you hear Tommy say something about maybe some of us were feeling too good, is that a concerning thing, or do you just think about, man, this team, not them as a whole, but where they all came from, their different situations, deserve to have felt really good about themselves after what they'd done for the first 3 games of the season?
Yeah, well, I mean, they definitely deserve to feel good about themselves, but they hadn't accomplished anything. And I wrote about that last week too. Like, it's awesome that you're 3-0, but you haven't accomplished anything that gets you any closer to a playoff, which is your goal, your stated goal, because you hadn't played a conference game yet. You hadn't won on the road yet, and you still haven't. You haven't won a conference game, and you haven't won on the road. So you're going to have to check that box off at another point. I guess, what's their next one? Stanford?
Road game
is
on
that
the
their next road
conference?
game?
Yeah.
Or is it Clemson?
No, it's Stanford.
Stanford, right?
Crazy thing, too, is I think they've gone over a year without winning an ACC game.
Yeah, it was Cal last year. Yeah. Cal was last year, yeah. That would be nice to end that streak on Saturday. But, yeah, I think that, look, man, it was such a funky schedule, and I'm not trying to blame it on the schedule because there's no blame to. I mean, it's not the schedule maker's fault that you gave them 14 points, but how do you know what you are? You beat an Alabama team that until Saturday night we had no idea what it was. Now we know it's pretty good, right? They just won in Georgia. They stopped at 33. That's the team you beat to open the season. But then you go from that to those 2 high school teams. You get a week off in between, and now you got to go face a Virginia team that's better than people gave it credit for. It was a real game, and we knew it was a real game. That's why the point spread was less than a touchdown. Like Vegas knew it was going to be a tough game. So I don't know, man. I think this is I think when you watch college football on Saturdays, man, it's like I know that was a big win for and this is almost apropos of nothing, but like. Alabama, if Georgia's number 11, their wide receiver, catches the ball on a post in the fourth quarter, ball hits him right in the hands. He's open. It's a 50-yard touchdown. If he catches it, Kalen DeBoer is on the hot seat today. And people are talking about who his replacement is going to be. Now they're number 10 in the effing country because of one kid dropping a ball at the 5-yard line. That's how tenuous this all is, man. Yeah. Florida State is now number 18 in the country. If
Deuce makes a catch,
if Deuce makes that catch, or I wouldn't even want to go back to
and I feel bad saying that, but how about if Tommy makes the throw to Sawchuk,
on a
Yeah.
perfectly designed
Yeah.
screen pass.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a walk-in. That's a great design.
He makes that was
throw.
twice as good as the third down play Alabama ran to ice out Georgia.
Right, yes, right, correct.
That's how
And
nice
then,
of a play it would have
Yeah,
been.
it was an unbelievable play. It's a really well-designed play, and he said it was a perfect call for it, and it's just you got to execute.
And this is why
But
we
if he
don't
does
compare him
execute
to
that-
Jordan Travis, guys. This is why we don't compare him to Jordan Travis. Jordan Travis makes that throw 97 out of 100 times.
Now, come on now. Let's not – he did not – the reason they were in overtime is because of that fourth down throw to Pittman, man. That is
Jordan
a
makes that.
next-level throw.
Jordan makes that.
Man. Yeah, maybe. Jordan's good. But Tom don't – let's not sleep on what Tommy did in that
Tommy's
game.
really good. Again, this is me, apropos of nothing, going back to the people talking about, I won't be happy if we don't beat Virginia by more than 2 touchdowns. This team is equally as good as 2013. Is Tommy better than Jordan Travis? These conversations that we're having after 3 games where 2 of them were not even really competitive Division I legitimate programs. Sorry.
I will say this. What we know now, though, about this team, I'm taking it a different direction, is we know this offense is legit.
Oh, yeah.
Like, again, they're facing – I think they're probably facing –
Let me hit refresh.
Well, they got a couple other defenses they're going to face.
Let me hit refresh real quick to see where they're at. So they were number 1 in total offense, number 1 in scoring offense before the Virginia game. Let's see now. They hit refresh. Ooh, can you feel it? They're still number 1 in both. Their total offense, they're averaging 600 yards per game. They're averaging 53 points per game.
Yeah, and obviously those are going to keep coming down. You're not going to – they're going to keep coming down. But they are an elite offense, man. They have a ton of weapons. They can hurt you a variety of ways. The offensive line is good. Now, I'm not expecting 650 on Saturday night, but they're going to be I think they're the toughest offense Miami's going to face. Now, Miami might play great and beat them and slow them down, but this offense is for real. I just thought, Virginia's not a great defense. I get it. Alabama's a pretty good defense, and Florida State should have put up 40 on them, and they still beat them by 2 touchdowns. This quarterback and what he can do with his legs and the throws he can make are really, really, really hard to stop. You've got a bona fide number 1 receiver. You've got a stable of backs. You've got a tight end that can do some things. You've got a senior offensive line. And I'm telling you, this stuff, this is not, as long as it stays healthy, they're always going to be a fun team to watch. They're always going to put a lot of stress on the opposing defense. And I just think they're going to win a lot of games. They're not going to win them all, clearly. They've already lost one. They're going to win a lot of games. Is that going to be enough to be in the playoff conversation? I don't know. But that kind of goes back to my point 4 minutes ago. Man, it's hard to win games. It's just hard. Like Georgia Tech, great. They miracle to win against Wake Forest, mainly because they weren't called for offsides when they were. You know what I mean? Like, that's the narrow margin we have here, folks. So Florida State might miss out on an ACC championship game because Georgia Tech wasn't called for offsides when they were offsides, or because the Wake Forest quarterback got hurt, or because the Wake Forest kicker doinked a 27-yarder. All those things had to happen for Georgia Tech to miracle a win on the road. It's just hard to win on the road. Ask LSU. I know Ole Miss is a pretty good team, but LSU did next to nothing in that game. Offensively. Well, they've been doing next to nothing all
quarterback
season.
doesn't seem like a first-round pick in my opinion, Corey, but what do I know?
I can tell you this much. I know I'd rather have Florida State's quarterback than that quarterback running this offense for damn sure. Like, that LSU offense has been abysmal. This Florida State offense is good. Don't know how many points they're going to put up on Miami. I do think that it's going to be Miami's biggest challenge of the season. We'll see if Miami's up to it. They do have some defensive ends that can really play. You just trust that Gus is going to come up with a game plan that can at least try to slow them down. What I didn't like about Tommy's performance, it's not just the throw to Sawchuk. Man, look, his first pass of the game was one of those pull it out of the belly and throw sidearmed.
Yeah.
And it's batted down in his face.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, Aslan, I don't know if they showed the replay. If the kid doesn't bat down the pass, it would have been a pick six to the DB that had cut in front of it. It was either a DB or a linebacker that had cut in front of the receiver, and he started jumping up and down because his teammate knocked down an interception for him. It was going to be a pick six. And then Tommy did it again at the 5-yard line on 1st and goal. That's just too careless for my liking. And I think he's got some awesome ability. He's fun to watch. He is such a competitor, man. I mean, I think you could tell by the way Gus talks about him that he really appreciates how much he competes. and how hard he plays. And, man, he had over 300 yards of offense. I don't know how many touchdowns he had. But he throws that pass to Pittman. He throws that pass to Deuce in double overtime, which is a flipping dime. But he's going to make some plays that make you roll your eyes and throw your hands up. You're going to have to live with it.
Yeah.
Because he's the best you got, and he's going to put up a lot of yards and a lot of points if he stays healthy. And I'm really, really curious as to what he looks like in this environment.
Yeah.
He's never been in a game like the one he's going to be in on Saturday night.
Nope.
Like, Alabama was its own unique entity, but it was all brand new. And it was all like, here goes nothing. Let's just see what this looks like. For the fan base, maybe for him. Well, now there's four game films on him. It's the Florida State-Miami game. He's the starting quarterback. They're favored. They're going to be talking all kinds of noise to him. You know they are.
They already are on Twitter.
I know. It's crazy. It's going to be a
Haynes.
spirited game. Yeah. I just think this kid is one that responds to the moment. Might not win it. He's going to make some bad plays, but he's also going to make some just ridiculous plays to keep drives alive and to score. And I think if you got anything out of that game on Friday night, other than, man, the defense needs some work, is this quarterback. This quarterback is going to be fun to watch all season. He's kind of built for this, I think.
I am curious.
He's going to make some mistakes, but I think he's built for this.
I am curious to see how he plays because, I thought it was interesting that he made those comments after the game about some guys feeling too good about themselves. And, I don't know if you saw it, but on the TV feed, after the touchdown to Randy to tie it up and go to overtime, like they both had their helmets off and their arms around each other's shoulders, almost celebrating as though they'd won the game. And it was like, man, y'all just tied the game. You guys got to get ready to score more points. And then they go in overtime and they only get the field goal and they're not. Listen, he makes a good throw to Deuce, and so he came ready to play in that. But that's just another thing too, where it's like, well, if you're the leader of this program and you're going to this game where everything's on the line, and you thought guys were feeling too good about themselves, like, man, I hope you first and foremost realize that this is going to be 60 minutes of just pure hell, and you got to stay focused the entire damn time.
And he's got to take some ownership and not be careless with the football. Like I'm not trying to take shots here, but you can be careless with the football in Chestnut Hill. Nobody cares. No. Literally, it's page 11 news. If anybody even reads the sports page anymore up there, the Boston Globe, nobody cares if you make a crazy throw for an interception on 1st and goal from the 5. Nobody's paying attention. Nobody's watching. At Florida State, you're actually trying to play for something, man. Like you've got the ability to make the playoffs. You cannot on 1st and goal from the 5. And I don't know if Gus was asked about this or not. That interception that he threw at the 5-yard line is just ridiculous. No. Like, what are you doing? I know it's an RPO, but even the guy that he was throwing to was not wide open for a touchdown. There's no need to pull it right there. And then these sidearm throws that he's making, trying around leaping defensive ends, that's not working. It got intercepted against Kent State. It almost got intercepted early in the game against Virginia, and then it got intercepted when you're at the 5-yard line in a critical moment in the game. And then he threw another one late in the game that I think maybe Danzy caught, but it was really, really risky.
Oh, yeah. Well,
you know what I'm saying? Like you can't be that careless with the football, man. And I think he'll learn that. And again, I say all that like
I don't know. I think this goes back. Sorry, Corey. I think this goes back to just accepting what you have at these positions. And it's not a bad thing, man. Like you have a better quarterback than a lot of the other teams in this country. I just think that I don't know if Tommy's going to change that over the next 8 weeks. That's probably
maybe. Do you think so? I hope he can though. I hope because he's never played. Look, man, he's never lost a game like that.
Your point is you're not playing with the level of stakes. So you can learn. You can learn how to comport yourself a little bit better in those situations, which
you can learn what the stakes are. And like he did against Alabama, quite honestly, I thought he played almost flawlessly in that game. Good point. And I just felt like maybe he was feeling himself a little bit too much early on in that game, where you make a decision like that. You just don't make decisions like that, man. You're down at the 5-yard line. This is not Kent State, man. You need to go ahead and put this in. And that was not 3rd and goal. That's 1st and goal. Yeah. Even if you hand it off and you get 2 yards or get stuffed, you got 3 more plays to try to get in the end zone. Don't pull it out and just think I'm going to it wasn't a good read. And then it was a kind of a flip it kind of flip from the side. You just got to care a little bit more. And I'm not saying he doesn't care, you know what I mean? Just care about the stakes a little bit more. But I get it. He makes a ton of decisions, and you're going to make some bad ones. I just thought I almost blame Malzahn for that, honestly. Like there have to be some where you give him a red light and you're like, no, this is not a pass at all. This is an RO. Either you run or the running back runs. But you are not throwing this pass. You're not throwing the ball here. But I know that's not how the offense works, and you're right. You kind of got to live with it. But I do think I know he's played a ton of football. He has never played important football games, ever. Yeah. He just hasn't. In high school, I guess they were probably important, but he's never played and he's never lost as important a football game as he lost on Friday night. I do feel like that can fill him with a little bit more carefulness when it comes to some of the decisions down near the goal line or just any time, really. But I don't want to take away from what I think he is as a competitor and as a leader, because I do think he's that guy. Yeah. And I think when he's got his arms around Randy Pittman, maybe celebrating, maybe congratulating each other, whatever it is, that's that at that moment, that's the biggest play either one of them had made in their lives.
That's true.
Like when you just consider the stakes.
Yeah, fourth down.
A fourth down, you're playing at Florida State. Who was watching, like the fact that you're number 8 in the country, they've never been ranked in the top 10, either one of those kids. And they made that play in that moment when they absolutely had to have it. I know the game didn't turn out, but you can't tell me that didn't fill Randy Pittman with some confidence. And it should have filled Castellanos with some confidence. And again, I know he screwed up the pass to Sawchuk, but that's a dime to deuce. When you absolutely had to have it, that is a dime. And I honestly think if he can clean up a couple of the technique stuff with the throwing, and a couple of the throws that got away from him. I think he missed Squirrel on a throw that was kind of wide open too, because I just think he had poor footwork. He's Heisman caliber, man. Like if you think when he steps into a throw, he can make all the throws, and he is elite as a runner. But you've got to put it all together. And as much as he had 330 yards or whatever it was in that game, he didn't quite put it all together. If he puts it all together against Miami, they're beating Miami. Miami's not going to have an answer for that. It's just a matter of if he can do it. But even if he doesn't, he's still a fun kid to watch. I think he's going to win a lot of games.
One more follow-up question, but we'll get to that later on. Let's get to this, everybody. Underdog Fantasy Sports. I don't know what day it was, but we were giving out picks, Corey. And I asked you for Tommy Castellanos higher or lower on 172.5 passing yards against Virginia, and you said higher. I asked you about Gavin Sawchuk, his longest rush being 16.5 yards. You like going higher, but you showed some restraint, and you said lower. His longest rush was 13 yards.
And what was the higher lower?
16.5.
So I'm 2 for 2 is what you're saying.
2 for 2. And then I put Chandler Morris on there. 18.5 rushing yards. Higher. If you folks listen to us for once, you would have gotten that. You would be able to turn $20 into $60.
Daddy was dialed in, kids. Daddy was dialed in.
That's if they would have done the flex where they could have missed one and still won money. If they would have done a standard straight up, they would have turned $20 into $120. We'll try to replicate the magic later on in this week, but we got to wait because they haven't put anything back on the board yet for us for the Miami game, but we'll get to it at some point this week. In the meantime, download the Underdog app today. Sign up with promo code WARCHANT to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code WARCHANT. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog. Make picks. Win money. Underdog Fantasy Sports must be 18 or older, 19 or older in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 or older in Colorado for some games, 21 and older in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. It's Wake Up War Chants presented by Vitamin Energy. VitaminEnergy.com, warchantbogo, your promo code. Last follow-up question, 52 minutes into the show. What about that fourth down call, Corey?
Hey, man, if they don't work, they all look stupid.
Right.
He had a couple other fourth down calls that were fine.
It's 4th and 1, Corey. You got to be able to get a yard without getting cute. And I get it. Gus is like, listen, when they work, they're good. When they don't work, they're not good. And
Yeah.
but it's like to have Amari Williams, Landon Thomas, and the young man's name escapes me, the third tight end they had out there, and it wasn't
number 89.
Yeah,
right?
it wasn't Marquise. Like that's and I get it. And somebody made a funny comment in the press room on Sunday when we were talking about it. They're like, someone's like, well, they probably weren't expecting a pass. And like, yeah, exactly. Like just because they weren't expecting, there's a reason why they weren't expecting, because that would be a bad idea. But I mean, ultimately they got the ball back and they scored. So I don't know how much of that really was an impactful play. But I mean, if you score on that drive, there's a lot more clock. Virginia's going to have to play, press maybe a little bit more than they did. But your thoughts on that fourth down play?
Not in love with it at all. I think that you think about what they did against Alabama on the play I was talking about last week about what I thought was like a tone setter for the season, or hoped it was anyway. Yeah. That was a 4th and 1 against Alabama at their own 34 with a game in the balance, and they just hand it to Roy Dell and he runs straight up the middle. Yeah. But you didn't do that against Virginia. I honestly think the only way to explain it is, and maybe that was the exact formation they used against Alabama. I don't know. I haven't gone back and looked at it. I know Tommy wasn't under center like he was for that play. I just think that a little too cute. He must have thought it was going to be wide open. Like that Tommy would have had somebody wide open at the 10 for a walk-in touchdown.
Yeah.
That's what I think they thought was going to happen. But credit to Virginia for picking up their keys or something, because they didn't look like they were expecting run at all, which is weird on 4th and 1 when you've given up 250 yards rushing that you wouldn't expect them to run the ball. On the same token, it's weird that you don't run the ball when it's 4th and 1 and you've already run for 250 yards. I think, man, when you have a quarterback like Castellanos, you've got to give him on that play. I know you're not going to do like the tush push, and you don't even need to be under center, but he's got to have the ball in his hands, and not his ball in his hands to throw it to a backup tight end. The ball in his hands sprinting with either get to the marker or throw it to someone that's in your vicinity. And you tell me, Aslan, the odds of you just snap it to Tommy Castellanos on 4th and 1 in that moment when you're trying to go tie the game with 2.5 minutes to go against Virginia, and you snap it to him and tell him to run to his right and get 1.5 yards. Unless it's just completely blown up and there's nowhere for him to run, he's getting you 1.5 yards.
I feel that's better than a formation with 3 tight ends that I don't even know if they have got 10
It's also a
combined
formation,
catches.
Right, and it's also a formation you hadn't used all game, or you don't use much. So they didn't even know what to key on. It wasn't like they were going to be fooled because you've run power 12 times in a row out of this formation. You're never in this formation. Tommy's never under center, so they didn't even have time to get confused. But look, man, it's hard to criticize Gus. I didn't like that play call. I certainly didn't like that his quarterback threw an interception at the Virginia 5-yard line on 1st down. But it was a great play by that kid too, by the way, to bat it up and catch it. But they're not the reason they lost the game. But it was not a great play call. I was not as upset with the fact that you threw it on 4th and 1, because Jimbo used to say forever, like, everybody wants you to just 4th and 2 or 4th and 1, just run it up the middle. He's like, guys, they got more hats than we do. Yeah. They're in goal line. It's gonna be hard for my 5 guys to block their 8 guys, and so you're gonna need your running back to break 2 tackles to get 2 yards. So I get why it's not an automatic run right there. Just I didn't, and it's easy to criticize the play call when it doesn't work.
Yeah.
I think the next time he calls it, walk-in touchdown.
Hell yeah.
Because nobody's going to expect him to call it again. You know what I mean? Nobody's going to. The Miami's not scouting that formation. They're like, well, we can throw that away. They're not using that again, so we're not going to have the scout team run that formation.
All right, let's talk about game day not coming to town. This would have been the 13th time that ESPN College Game Day would have been in Tallahassee, the first time since 2014 when they actually came to Tallahassee twice. They were here for the Notre Dame game and that Clemson game where Jameis was suspended for it. The 13 appearances would have tied the Gators for 5th most in our nation's history. They're going to go to Tuscaloosa to cover Alabama playing Vanderbilt. And I know a lot of people obviously still resent Kirk Herbstreit, ESPN. I think this is like another in a long litany of things that ESPN has done to disrespect and show animus towards this university. I thought it would have been incredible if they would have been here. The game is still going to be a fantastic game. I still think it's going to probably be one of the best games of the year. I hope Florida State wins it. I don't know if they're going to, I'm not saying because I think they're going to win. I think it's going to be a highly competitive game that's going to come down. Like every play in the fourth quarter is going to be life or death. It's going to be like postseason baseball, it feels like. But it would have been nice just for that victory lap. Lee Corso's going to be in town. I don't know if he would have been the guest picker or not, but that actually kind of bummed me out more than the loss, because I was like, man, I don't know. I'm of a different age, I guess, Corey. Like, I grew up. I remember that first one in South Bend. Like, I remember that weekend. I remember being a kid watching it with my brother. I remember watching game day as a student. I remember watching game day as a 20-something-year-old that didn't know what he was doing in his life. I don't know. Game day just has a pretty sizable part of my football enjoying life attached to it. And it just would have been cool to have them here for a game of this magnitude. And I'm not going to go full, I'm going to try to make Kirk Herbstreit cry and block me on Twitter, but this is bull. Tuscaloosa over this, that just doesn't make sense to me.
I don't disagree. I'm going to speak from my own personal, I can only speak for myself. I don't care if game day is here or not, personally, because I wasn't going to go. I haven't been to game day. I don't think I've been to game day since the 96 Florida State game. And I was only there because the game was at noon. So we had to be up anyway because all the big games back then were noon. I don't care about showing up. I don't care about going. I don't really watch the show anymore either. So none of that matters to me. But I do know it matters to a lot of Florida State fans. And I think Florida State fans were really excited about the prospect of College Game Day coming to Tallahassee. And not just to boo Kirk Herbstreit, but because it feels like it's the center of the college football world for that weekend. Yep. It's College Game Day. It's bigger than Fox Noon or whatever, Big Noon. And it's bigger than the ACC huddle showing up, although they will be there, and Jimbo will be there, and that will be cool, and I would suggest you guys all go there. It's from 10 to noon, I think. Maybe even CBS Sports will be there, too. So there will be other shows there at Doak before the game, but it's ridiculous. There's no justifiable reason that it wouldn't be there. The College Game Day. Again, I promise, I do not care. I was not going to cover it. I wasn't going to go talk to Desmond or Kirk or anybody else. It does not matter to me in the least. But if you're talking about a big game, how is the number 3 team in the country, who's undefeated, who has not been a relevant program in 20-something years, is on the cusp of making the playoffs? Probably if they win this game, they're almost guaranteed of a playoff berth unless things just go off the rails because of their schedule. It's one of the bigger games they played in a quarter century at their arch rival. Florida is not their arch rival, by the way, because they barely ever play Florida. Their arch rival is Florida State and always has been. Florida State, as you might remember, beat Alabama, who you deem more worthy of hosting game day because they're playing mighty Vanderbilt. I hope their ratings are the worst ratings for College Game Day in the history of the show. Alabama, who's always on game day. Alabama, who has a loss already. And again, if number 11 for Georgia catches that pass, they're not in Alabama right now. That's just, again, this might be a good Alabama team, might be a playoff team. It also still might be an 8-win team. I don't know. They won by 3 points. They looked good for the first half. Fine. Great. It's I don't know, man. It's insulting. It's insulting. Florida State Miami built that show. That show was built on the back of Florida State and Miami. The Florida State Miami was gotta watch college football. What these two programs, I know it's been a while since they've mattered together simultaneously, but what they meant to college football is kind of when College Game Day started meaning something to college football. These two programs are embedded with the rebirth of college football and the popularity of college football. It wouldn't be what it is without Florida State and Miami carrying the torch in the 80s and 90s as the brands got built up and the sport got built up. To then say, oh, Florida State lost in double overtime on the road at the number 24 team in the country, by the way. They have the same record as Alabama. You haven't been to Tallahassee in 11 effing years. But instead, you're going to go back to Alabama as they host effing Vanderbilt, who's a 2-touchdown underdog. You're telling me you think more of the country cares about Alabama Vanderbilt than Florida State and Miami. And I'm telling you, Aslan, it was ridiculous that they were in Miami 2 weeks ago for that stupid Florida game. it made no sense other than to give them an out for covering Miami 2 games in a row. So they're like, hey, we can't go to Florida State. We just covered Miami. People are going to be sick of Miami. No, they're sick of Alabama. Nobody is sick of the Miami-Florida State rivalry when it actually matters, and this one matters. And instead, they're going to be in Tuscaloosa. Kirk and Chris are going to be in Doak for the game. But they still go to Alabama for the Vanderbilt game? Why? Because Vanderbilt's a fun story? I hope Vanderbilt loses by 50. And I hope they're embarrassed by the fact that they went to Tuscaloosa. Just because I don't know when this is going to happen again. And you can't tell me that. So if Tommy Castellanos completes that past the Sawchuck, then they're in Tallahassee. But because Florida State now has a loss in double overtime, it's not worthy of showing up? Or were they always going to Tuscaloosa? And how much is it they don't want Kirk to be berated?
That factors into it, I'm sure.
It has to. It has to. It's the only thing that makes sense. They wanted any excuse not to come to Tallahassee. Florida State, unfortunately, gave it to them. And I know many of you can say that, like, well, if Florida State would have taken care of their business, they would have had no choice. Well, Alabama didn't take care of their business. They lost by 2 touchdowns a month ago. I seem to remember. I feel like I was there. And yet they're getting to host game day because of a 3-point win against Georgia. Great. Awesome. And because Vanderbilt beat Utah State. Okay, cool. Again, I promise, it sounds like I'm mad because I don't get to go watch game day. I will not watch it. I might have watched it if it was in Tallahassee. But I'm not a fan of the show. I just don't watch the show. I don't care. I don't care about it.
What are you doing at 11 a.m. on a Saturday?
Waking up.
Fair.
Waking up, getting my bearings, trying to remember who I was with the night before. Just kidding, babe. Just kidding. Steph doesn't listen to this. I don't care. But yeah, so I'm not. I looking at my phone. I'm not really a game. I haven't been a game day person. I think the last time I watched game day, honestly, from start to finish, was the FSU Clemson game in 13, when Bill Murray body slammed Lee Corso, which was a good one to go out on. But yeah, so I get it. It's a snub. I don't know how else to tell you. It's a snub. It's not nearly as meaningful or as drastic as what happened 2 years ago, but it's an absolute snub for Miami and Florida State when both teams are in the top 20. One is number 3 in the country. And if Florida State beats Miami, Florida State's not, again, a top 10 team. Like, this is a huge game. A huge game. And it's going to have a ton of eyeballs on it. And people do care about this rivalry in these two programs. And instead, you decide to go because, hey, oh, God, we haven't been to an SEC venue in 2 weeks. We got to go back and do an SEC game day. Alabama, Vanderbilt, sure. And then let's not even get into the fact that Alabama is ranked 8 spots ahead of Florida State in the AP poll.
This is, how this sport works, Corey.
I do. I do. And look, if you want to complain about that, which I think people are absolutely right to complain about that, Florida State's also ranked ahead of Virginia. So you can't complain too vociferously because Virginia's 24 and Florida State's 18. Virginia is 4-1, Florida State is 3-1. Virginia also beat Florida State, and yet they're ranked 6 spots behind Florida State. The rankings don't matter to me. They don't matter. It's just you got to get to the playoff. That's what matters. And Florida State still has everything out in front of it. Everything's right there. They didn't give themselves any wiggle room, though. And I guess we could end with this. Like, I don't know. I feel like they probably have to. I don't think they can lose another ACC game and get to the playoff. Because I don't think if they have 2 losses, they're getting to Charlotte.
We'll see. I mean, again, it's as much as people don't care about the polls. Like, I'm not into this, imaginary target of like, oh, what if Cal runs the table? They have an easy slate. They bounce back and they beat Boston College and Chestnut Hill this past week.
That's right. Big run.
Stanford put on a big drive to beat San Jose State while all you nerds were watching Oregon, Penn State, watching Alabama, Georgia. I was watching Stanford march down the field against San Jose State. I don't know. I think you might be able to get to Charlotte with 2. Maybe. But I think, people are talking about 2-loss Florida State and how their resume would stack up. You're not getting it as an at-large, I don't think, with 2 losses. Because, if you would get your second loss in Charlotte, yeah, man, that's,
I definitely think you could get it. If your only other loss is in Charlotte, I think you're in, honestly. Because that means you've beaten Miami, you've beaten Alabama, and you've won road games at Clemson and at Florida. You're in.
I know, but if you rematch like Miami on a neutral field and lose to them, I think that's problematic.
Well, we're getting way ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, we are.
But I do think that loss to Virginia You've got no wiggle room now because I don't. Georgia Tech, it's going to be. I guess I shouldn't say this because they should have lost to Wake Forest, so they might not be all that good. But it's hard to imagine they're going to lose 2 times with that schedule. And then the Miami, if you lose to Miami, well then they have essentially a 3-game lead on you. So Miami's in, and it could be. It would seem like it's steamrolling to Miami, Georgia Tech. But I guess if you lose this weekend and then finish on an 8-game winning streak with some impressive wins, it's just the problem is if you beat Clemson, then it's because Clemson sucks. If you beat Florida, it's because Florida sucks. There's nothing really to hang your hat on. No. What you really hope happens is that Virginia is really good, ends up being really good, and Alabama ends up being really good, and Miami. So then you're like, okay, at the end of the year, and let's just say they lose to Miami this week, 34-30. You end up 10-2. Again, these are way ahead of ourselves with a loss in double overtime on the road at Virginia, who ends up being a top 15, a top 20 team. You lose by 3-4 points to Miami, who ends up being a top 5 team, and you beat Alabama, who was also a top 5 or top 10 team. I feel like you would maybe have a case at 10-2. Maybe. Probably wouldn't take you because you're ACC, but you'd have a chance. I just think you lost so much wiggle room with that conference loss to Virginia because I don't think you're going to win the rest of your conference games. You know what I mean? Do you?
Yeah. No, I mean, listen, I'm still very nervous about the Clemson game. I think Clemson
100%. Everybody should be nervous about that game.
6 weeks from now can look like a completely different team. Look how much better Alabama looked after 3 weeks of getting punked, right? Like being told how bad they are. And listen, Clemson should not have – Clemson should have been listening to everybody bad-mouthing them after they lost to LSU and then after they lost to Georgia Tech, and then they still end up losing to Syracuse. So I don't know really where they even go. But yeah,
Syracuse, who then got trashed by Duke.
No, they lost.
I know they had the backup
quarterback.
Yeah, but holy cow, that was crazy. I mean, they still had their defense, and Duke put up like 40 on them.
Yeah. The ACC standings are a bit odd to look at right now. Like, Duke's 2-0, so they're at the top of the heap. Georgia Tech's 2-0, so is Virginia because they beat Stanford and they beat us. Yeah, I mean Louisville. We're down here with Pitt, Wake, Boston College, and Clemson as teams that have lost ACC games. So.
Yeah, I mean, if you get to 6-2, you'll have a fighting chance. You also play Alabama and Florida non-conference, so you definitely play better non-conference teams than anybody in the ACC. But look, I don't even know why I'm talking about it. It's dumb to bring up. I didn't enjoy the result. I did enjoy a lot of Friday night. I enjoyed watching that game. I thought it was a fun game. I thought you saw some dudes go out and make plays. Like, go make some special plays. Randy Pittman, that is some special stuff, man. That is a diving catch with the game on the line. And it is a perfect throw. And Tommy made a few perfect throws. He also made some bad ones, but he made some perfect ones. He got some huge plays with his legs, too. Cromall, Sawchuk, like there was so many good things that happened. Like I said, McCoy making a couple of big plays. And then your defense, although not good by any means, still made 3 interceptions. Jerry Wilson, if he makes that interception, I think it probably ends the game, weirdly enough. If that play goes a different way and he picks that thing off, I think the game is over. I think you're going to be up 28-14 at halftime. You're getting the ball to start the second half. Their quarterback is on skates and he's just completely rattled, and the game might be over. Instead, the kid ends up making the catch, running an extra 28 yards, and then they score on the next play, and all of a sudden you're in a game. But there was a lot to like, and it was so much better than – it's just so much better than what we've seen in some other Florida State years. Yeah. Not just the last year, but – 21, 20, 19, 18, 17. Like, I like this team more than any of those teams. And I think maybe what Friday night did for a lot of people was kind of lower the playoff expectations, which is fine. Look, man, there's only 12 teams that make the playoffs, and you're in the ACC, so you kind of got, like we were talking about, you probably do have to get to Charlotte to get there.
It should have lowered all-time team expectations. I don't think it should have lowered playoff expectations.
Oh, well, maybe, but even if it doesn't, man, even if it doesn't get to Charlotte, even if it doesn't get to the playoff, because I think we could look at that team in Charlottesville on Friday night, and I know you can say, why not us? Why wouldn't this team do it? I just don't think this team is deep enough up front, especially on the defensive line, to win a national championship. I just don't think it's built for it. I don't think it can go beat Ohio State and then Penn State and Oregon back to back to back. I could be wrong. We're in September. That would just be surprising. But I think it's a fun team. I think it's a likable team. I think it does play hard, and I think it's going to win more games than it loses. And maybe you get a couple of good breaks, and you are in Charlotte, and you are in the playoff. But I kind of, like, it was the most enjoyable loss that I've experienced, like, doing this in a long time. Maybe the Notre Dame game at 21. Because you just, it wasn't enjoyable because they lost to an underdog and they didn't play well. But it's like Virginia had to go win the game from you. You made it hard for Virginia. You know what I mean?
It was a really good college football game, and you were in it.
It was a great college football game.
You had every reason to roll over and, like you said, end up getting blown out. You did not. Listen, my Miami friend was like, I can't believe, Virginia is going to stomp you guys. And then all of a sudden it's like, I can't believe, like, there's no way Florida State's going to lose this game now. Like, the way they roared back. So, yeah, you showed a lot of good things. But ultimately, I think, there's some limitations that might pop up when you're playing teams that have, like, really physical lines of scrimmage that aren't going to back down and cower the way that Alabama did. Now, you get credit for, making Alabama cower, but I think some of that stuff, a lot of stuff that they got called out on film, Alabama, that was Alabama just loafing, like not being, that wasn't because like Mekhi Danzy was like sucking the soul out of them. That was just guys not running and taking good angles. But you took advantage of that. You get credit for that. Yeah. You beat that team. But I think, the more we look back on that game, listen, for all the things that we're talking about, if this goes your way, if that goes your way against Virginia, like Alabama, for as bad as they look, they had a lot of those opportunities too, man. If Ryan Williams doesn't drop all these passes, they make a field goal. There's a lot of things that Alabama could have done, plays that they could have made that would have changed the outcome of that. But they didn't.
I think that's college football, man. That's kind of the point I was making an hour and 11 minutes ago, or however long it's been. It's like, that's college football. It is hard to win, period. It is really hard to win on the road. Yep. I know Ohio State won that game comfortably. Ohio State had 7 points with like 5 minutes to go in the third quarter. Yeah. And that's a good team with an all-time receiver. That's 7 points.
Same thing with Oregon. Oregon, that was like a 3-3 game until I don't know how many minutes were left in that game. Tennessee had to go to overtime to beat Mississippi State.
Got lucky to win that game. And so it's just it's hard to win. I actually made a decent-sized money betting on some – I hit a parlay where I bet on all these underdog teams that were like Wake Forest and Mississippi State, and there was a couple other ones. That I was like, man, it's hard to win on the road, and you can't just – Georgia Tech's just not going to roll into Winston-Salem and win by 28 points. The spread was only 14, but I was like, that's going to be a better game than they think, and of course it was. They were down at half. It's hard to win on the road. It's hard to win, period. And there is the parity is here, man. Do I think if Virginia and Alabama played that Alabama would lose to Virginia? No, I don't. But explain what happened then. Like, Florida State beat Alabama by 2 touchdowns. And again, I think that game kind of broke even where both teams had mistakes that happened. Alabama didn't turn the ball over. They didn't have a punt kick off their foot. Florida State did. So they both teams, I think Florida State was, to me, demonstrably better in that game. For that one game.
Yeah.
For that one game. If they played this week, I don't know, man. Because teams do get better, and they do improve, and there is parity. And so that's, again, I'm not even bringing up 2023. It's just why that bothers me so much. Like, wins aren't counted as wins. Every win should be important. If you're playing a Division I team or a conference team, especially on the road, they're hard. They're hard to win. And Florida State's, it's going to be hard for Miami to win on Saturday night. It just is.
They're
in the exact same boat.
It's six and a half at some books, Corey.
Yeah, it's exactly what Florida State was at Virginia. 6.5. And saw how that worked out. I think Florida State is better than Virginia, even though they lost to them.
That game's going to age me so bad. Saturday, I'm gonna look like a 70-year-old man after it's over.
And think about what it would mean if they won that game. Ooh. Like, again, you flushed the Virginia game.
Oh, yeah.
But all of a sudden, you've beaten 2 top 10 teams. Your quarterback probably is in the Heisman race because I know Alabama and Vanderbilt also play that day, 2 juggernauts. But the whole country is going to be watching Florida State Miami. Yep. And if you go win that game and your quarterback has a day, yeah, man, they're going to be like, well, why isn't Tommy Castellanos the leading Heisman candidate? I know they lost the game, but they went to double overtime. He scored 38 points and made a great throw that was dropped. Like, he'll be right in the conversation for that. Yeah, I think when you look around the NFL and you look around college football, you see it's impossible, almost impossible to go undefeated anymore. It's really hard to just lose once. And so that's why I didn't take so much. That's why I wasn't so upset after I don't know how upset most Florida State fans were. I know it was upsetting in the moment. But as you look at the landscape and you watch games on Saturday, you see how hard. I think 3 top 5 teams lost, right?
Well, I mean, yeah,
Georgia, LSU, and
Penn State.
Maybe only 2. Somebody, yeah, Penn State. So 3 top 5 teams lost. It's hard to win.
It's a really good
team. And nobody
team.
goes undefeated. Yeah. Nobody goes undefeated. I think Penn State's a really good football team. I think Penn State might win the national championship. Don't laugh. But they lost that game. It's hard to win. It's hard to beat other good teams. It's just hard to beat people in general. And so when you realize that it's more and more like the NFL, where the best team in the NFL this season is going to lose 4 times. Well, the best team in college football last year lost twice and could have lost 2 other times. Just keep that in mind when you get upset about a double overtime loss on the road. I know it's Virginia, quote unquote, but Virginia had 24-year-olds all over its offense, and I thought they were pretty well coached. And that was always going to be a difficult game, and they're going to be a difficult team a difficult out for a lot of teams. And they really should be 5-0. They gave away the NC State game. Don't feel bad for them, but they did. So yeah, I'm just rambling. But not one loss is a season definer anymore. You can survive a loss like this. This is not 1995 where that loss basically ended all chance, ended all hope of winning a national championship. Everything is still on the table. Everything. And I'm a believer in this offense more now, talking to you today, than I was before that game started. So that's a good thing. And, hey, even our man Weinberg missed a bad kick. Needed that one, Jake. Needed that one, big dog. Grab a little momentum back. But talk about the pressure that was on him in that overtime. And he delivered. That's a big kick for him. Maybe that's something to build on to. So there were a lot of positives. It just sucks that they lost. Real quick. And I'm done.
Something about Miami. We got to throw something about Miami in this show, I feel like.
No. I want to tell you what bothered me the most about the loss to Virginia is they just don't care up there. They just don't. Like, it's a 60,000-seat stadium.
You saw the way they stormed that field with that verve and energy. Cordell, they don't care about it.
I should ask Squirrel White if they care. He's still in the end zone somewhere. No, like, the upper deck was mostly empty. They were late arriving. They weren't loud until they got a reason to be loud. They got real quiet real quick. And also, like, because the way we get down to the press box or to the interviews is we have to walk through the crowd. It's like Florida. You have to walk through the crowd to the bottom of the steps and then get onto the field that way. And I'm walking past all these Virginia fans after the game, and they're just like, oh, wasn't that something? That was neat. They weren't all – they just weren't that fired up about it because they just don't care. It was cool for them. But then they go and live their lives, and they're going to a pottery class the next day. And it's like Florida State, you live and breathe this, man. There is no wake-up Cavaliers. They don't care about football the way you care about football. And that's what's always made these losses in the ACC doubly frustrating, is when you lose at Wake Forest. And they're like, yeah, when's the fair start? It's so out of their brain as soon as it's happening. They're not even really into it when it's happening. And that's because it doesn't affect their lives, man. Virginia's good at football. Virginia's bad at football. Their lives go on. Florida State, you want your team to be awesome at football. It does mean a lot to you. And that's when it's bothersome, is when you lose to a team and a school and a fan base that doesn't care as much about it as you do. And also, come get it, Miami. Come get some. You ain't ready for this. There you go.
All right, we'll do a mailbag tomorrow, so get your questions in. It might be locked by the time you're listening to this. I'm sure there's going to be a mad dash to get involved. Live show Tuesday instead of Wednesday, Corey?
Or Thursday. It's up to you. We'll have to talk about it off air, a little production meeting.
All right, cool. In the meantime, though, Jeff Cameron, 1 to 4 o'clock, Seminole Headlines, Tuesday, 1 to 3 o'clock, warchant.com, around the clock. We'll get Mike Norvell, weekly press conference, just Mike, 11:30. Check out warchant.com, live updates, and the whole video, the whole spiel, all of it going on. And I think probably a 3-2-1 from Ira. Required reading.
Yeah.
Got to be a subscriber to get to that one, everybody. Join for only $1 and get that year subscription to The Athletic. Still going on, but not forever. Act now while supplies last. He's Corey Maslow. Thanks for listening to 83 minutes of us yapping about the Noles.
Isn't that weird? What was the post-Alabama game? Like 58-minute show? The post-Alabama show was probably 58 minutes. But weirdly, when they lose, I want to ramble on for an extra half hour.
We got to get out of here, but somebody commented on the wrap after the East Texas A&M game or the Kent State game, and I can't find it. They might have gone back and deleted it, but they're like, these wraps suck when we win, but I'm glad we're winning. They're like it's so much more. They're like, the wraps are so much more fun after a loss. They're like, but I'm glad we're winning these games instead of losing them. And it's like, it is funny. Like people, it's not the hate watching. It's just like, yeah, we know they played good. We know why they played good. And yeah, they won and we're happy. But it's like, we lost. It's like, I need to vent. I need to hear, like somebody needs to talk me off the ledge. Give me some context. Let me know what's going on. And you guys did a great job as usual. So, 2/3 of them, they're on Seminole Headlines. Jeff's with them as well. That's Tuesdays, everybody. Check us out, again, around the clock, warchant.com. He's Corey Maslow. Thanks for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com.